I'm Matt Miller.
And I'm Hannah Elliott, and this is Hot Pursuit.
All right, we have a pretty special guest, I'd say, today.
We have an actual rock star with us
today.
Alison Mosshart, the singer, songwriter, artist, and lead vocalist for the rock band The Kills.
And I like The Dead Weather, which is another band that I don't know if it's a side project.
Supergroup.
Yeah.
I actually really started to know that Alison was a car person because in 2020 she put out this book called Karma, which is a play on words. Super cool.
And the listeners will notice in the interview for the first 30 minutes, I think that you're talking about the word that starts with a K, karma. I had no idea about the book.
Oh, yes.
I had seen some pictures that were in it, but I didn't realize it was Karma.
Karma.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's real clever like that. And I love talking to her because she has that thing where she's actually so still and quiet that she sort of draws everybody into her realm and toward her energy. Didn't you feel that?
Yes,
Matt?
100%.
She has that where she's super calm and you kind of just like everything slows down and just flows into her orbit.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
You wait for the pauses. Yeah. Nobody interrupts. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Really
even me,
interesting
even
to
I
talk
don't
to.
interrupt.
No, I was like, wow, this is just a great conversation between two tall blondes. What can I say?
Yeah, I felt pretty lucky to be involved in that, you know? It was the tallest interview that we've ever done, all three of us.
Yes,
added up
tallest
to about
average
18
height.
feet.
We need to keep tracking, start tracking that.
She was very cool, and it's the first time we've had a guest who appreciates my Challenger, I would say.
Yeah.
The whole time we were talking to her, you never told us how you feel about the Dodge Challenger.
It's how she feels about some plastic surgery, which is, it's fun to look at, but not for me.
All right, so that'll be, you know what? Let's just get straight into it.
You might as well.
This is Alison Mosshart of The Kills.
It's so nice to see you here, Alison. For our listeners, Alison Mosshart, of course you know her. She's the American singer and frontwoman of the band The Kills. But, you know, I have come to know you through our mutual friend Savannah, but also through Tim Cadiente. I think many years ago, well, feels like many years ago, but in 2020 he sent me your Karma book.
So cool.
And and I don't think I had met you at that point.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this woman is awesome. I have to meet her. And of course, I love you instantly because you're tall and because you're cool. But there's so much more. And just as we've got to know each other, it's been so fun to hang out with you and just hear what's on your mind. I mean, you truly are a multifaceted artist. I think people might know you from music, but there's so much more there, as Matt just alluded to. So I'm super excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm really excited to be here. And I like staying busy.
You just had a birthday.
I did. And Tim came. So that was nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. We are all Scorpios in this room, so I already feel very good about
Well,
this.
I'm the first day of Sagittarius, so I'll just point that out.
Are?
Yeah, it's like a new frontier when you get there.
Okay.
I'm right on that.
All right.
So wait, you're November
23rd.
23rd. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Hannah, you're November
16th.
16th.
Oh,
okay.
happy birthday,
Yes.
Hannah.
Thanks. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't feel like the Challenger gets the credit it deserves. To me, it is one of the meanest, baddest looking muscle cars, or the baddest looking muscle cars that's made today.
Sir.
I agree. And whenever, when I first fell in love with the car and I started telling people, like, I think I'm going to get a Challenger, I got a lot of some kind of offensive even responses.
Really? Why?
I don't know. For some people, I think the Challenger is a car that is divided along lines of, I don't know, class or race or other things, and they didn't expect me to be into it. But I just think the shape is so elegant and timeless.
It's sexy. It's like if you took a 16-passenger van and you smushed it down and then
There
just
you go.
made it really, really sexy looking.
Nice.
By the way, I mean, I fell in love with Challengers because I saw that movie Vanishing Point a long, long time ago, and then I couldn't stop watching it, and then I'd watched it like 20 or 30 times. Then I would just have it on in the background on mute. Obsessed with that car.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I mean, amazing movie. And also, it's hard to find that movie. You can't stream it anywhere. The Vanishing Point.
You can go to a shop and get the DVD.
That's
Yes,
even cooler.
true. And I saw the car, the original car, at that hoity-toity Hamptons car show that I went to, Hannah.
The Bridge.
Yeah.
Yes. We need to actually say Alison owns a couple Challengers, as I recall. Can you tell us a little bit about your cars, the specifics, how you found them? And I also want to hear about your dad, because I know he's got a history in cars too.
Yeah, I mean, my dad is still a used car dealer. He's never going to stop working. He loves it so much. So I was kind of dragged around to car dealerships my whole childhood and immediately developed an opinion about what I liked and what I didn't like, what I thought was
What
cool.
didn't you like?
A lot of things. But, I always really loved muscle cars. And I would I don't know, it just did something to me, to my body, to my brain. I would get so excited. I'd want to touch it and walk around it and get in it. But getting the Challengers happened. I had been living in London for a really, really long time, like 16 years, and had never owned a car in America. I didn't have anywhere to put one. When that Challenger started driving around and I started seeing it in the street, it literally was the impetus for me to get a house in Nashville but mostly I just needed the garage.
Parking.
I mean, I do need to sleep somewhere. But I mean, I was so excited. And it's the first thing I did. I found a house, and the next thing I did was go to Dodge and custom design the one I wanted. And then wait for so long. And they would send me little bits of the VIN number and be like, the engine's in, the paint is done. Ooh, the windows go up and down. It was like I was adopting a baby from far, far away and just waiting for it to be born.
Yes, I 100% understand. I totally get it.
It was so exciting anytime to get those letters. And yeah, it was a big day.
What was the spec? Tell us some of this is the white one that you have, right?
No, this is the black one.
Oh, this is the black.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So tell us some of the specs that you chose. And does this car have a nickname?
Yes, it's called the Black Shark, which is totally ripped from Hunter S. Thompson's Red Shark. And then I also have the White Shark. So I think this is just what's going to happen with all my cars forever. But I made sure it had no sunroof because I can't stand the sun, so I removed that. I removed any kind of striping. I got the best stereo you could put in it. Everything that was the best thing that you could do to the car, I did it to the car, including changing the shifter and stuff. And it has these beautiful chrome kick plates and stuff when you get inside. And it's loud and it's fast and it feels like it weighs 1,000,000 pounds. It's so good.
I'm guessing
I love it.
From the photo I've seen of you sitting on the hood of a black Challenger, it's the SRT. So the first one with the big naturally aspirated V8. I think it was a 6.1 liter. And yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, yes, this is going to be awesome.
It feels different because I have an RT in LA, the white one, which is amazing. But that black one feels different. I mean, it's something. It's like a holy experience.
It's so cool for me to meet another Challenger person. I don't think I ever have.
You've got him a little bit dumbstruck. It's I mean, how do people, when they don't realize it's you in the car, Alison, and they pull up next to you and you can feel them rolling up, is there a particular way that you are greeted or treated when they see it's you?
No, it's a little bit different now, but when I first got that car and for many years after, because that was 2014, it was that typical thing where anybody on the highway would want to race me.
Yeah.
And it was always dudes, and then they'd look and it was blonde hair flying out the window, and they'd be like, oh, and then they really wanted to race me.
Yeah.
It's amazing that I didn't lose my license those first couple of years. But now I think, I don't know, they're a lot more common to see. I think a lot of women drive them. I think it's not really, I don't think it's any kind of limited to any sort of group or culture anymore. I think there's a sort of appreciation for that car. It's a really, really great car to drive. And it just looks great.
It's so big, too. It's got
huge.
I mean, what I love about it, I test drive a different car every week. So, and really nice ones. I'm driving a Mercedes. I was driving a new electric pickup truck. And But every time I get back in the Challenger, it feels so comfortable, like an old couch that you just never tire of. And especially for tall people, Hannah, it's just a fantastic vehicle to drive because it's not at all confining, and the motor just expands that feeling of vast. The hood goes on forever, and you got that great SRT hood with the two. They're really like shark gills right at the front. Yeah. So I love it. Yeah.
I think, during the pandemic, you wouldn't think of that as a road trip car, right? Because the gas mileage isn't amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, who cares? I drove it back and forth across the country like 3 times. So 3 times across. And it was the most comfortable, unbelievable fun. You just never get sick of driving it. 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours goes by, and you're like, cool.
True.
Did you do that drive alone?
Yeah.
Okay, so walk us through, where were you stopping? What was your regimen in terms of, I'm going to drive this far this day? Because that's I'm assuming it was from Nashville to LA and back.
Yeah.
That's a long drive.
But I did it every different way. Like I would go super south, or I would go super north.
Oh, cool.
Or I was just, because I didn't want to do the same drive twice.
Yeah.
My regimen was to wake up whenever the hell I wanted to. And drink a bunch of coffee and check out and just start going. And usually, I have people on the phone, or I'd have my mom looking at the map. It was like I had this kind of like satellite guide of a mother. She goes, you should go to the Barbed Wire Museum. It's coming up in...
That's a thing?
It's coming up in 2 hours. Easy to miss, by the way. Small sign. But yeah, I kind of just... I would have a sort of general idea, because you're sort of in the middle of nowhere. So I didn't, you want to find a hotel and you want it to be, I kind of would have like a town that I would stop in my mind. If I wanted to keep going, I would go further. But then I'd just find, like a Best Western or some, whatever, $60 a night place and park outside my own window. And snooze.
That's the dream. Yeah. Honestly, that is the dream, right? I think a lot of people... I know that a lot of people think COVID was awful, and of course we lost so many great people. And a lot of people had long-term, precautions that were bad. But for me, I loved the lockdown. I loved the road trips.
You're one of those loved lockdown guys.
I really want another one, but without obviously any of the bad
stuff. Do not
stuff.
say that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, just take a vacation, just on your own.
But that's like Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance in your Challenger,
Yeah, it was weird though, because there was, everything we're talking about. There was a huge kind of fear hanging over everything. Hotels were ghost towns. It was like I felt like I had to hunt food. Mm-hmm. There was no restaurants open, or you'd have to get in, sit in a parking lot, or every day had these special things that had to be done to get there. And this is before the vaccine, so it was just it felt incredibly sketchy. And all the cops were mad, and there was all these riots going on. I mean, there was just a vibe that maybe being a woman driving around in a car that looks like this all over creation is not the safest thing I ever did, but it was truly amazing. And I don't know, I filmed everything. I wrote everything. I look back at that time and I realize I was totally mad, in my brain, from everything going on. But I'm
mad, like insane.
Yeah, insane. I have videos of me just Clorox wiping entire hotel rooms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just am I doing it right? What am I,
Yes.
Just this overlaying thing that wasn't like the Great American Road Trip, but it was a great way to see the country, which I've seen a million times because I've toured, but I saw it in such a different way.
Did you use a lot of that inner turmoil and, for lack of a better word, as material for art, for music, for writing?
Definitely.
Going forward?
Definitely. I mean, I think there's a lot of that stuff when I was starting to write God Games. We were kind of coming out of that. And yeah, I believe all of that is in there in places. There's no way to escape it.
Wait, what stuff do you do? As I said, I just discovered you do photography, and then I read that you also paint. You are clearly filming things. So, and what is God Games?
God Games is the most recent Kills album. It came out last October, so a year ago. That's what.
And you guys have been touring?
Yeah, all year.
Endlessly on it.
Mm-hmm. You just finished Kills work, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago for the year in the
Do
South.
you-
Yeah.
This is sort of a philosophical question, but I'm just curious, do you in your work see similarities between cars and rock?
Rock, I mean, I'm uncomfortable with that word because I don't, I think people have like an opinion about what rock is, and it seems really like kind of bro-y and strange.
Yeah,
but
that's kind of why I'm asking.
I always like to think of it more as electric guitar music, and I think of guitars as beautiful sculptures, and I think of cars as, making that sound and transporting you to that place. I feel that way about music, and I feel that way about cars, and I feel that way about art, in general.
It makes sense. And somebody who deals in all three of those can see how they really overlap and merge and influence each other.
Yeah, I think that they're all incredibly connected. I think the only problem is people trying to disconnect them. I think they all exist very happily together. No one needs to overdefine anything. It just all is part of the same, I think thing in your soul or your heart or a way to expressing yourself. It's like the way people dress. That's about like how, you wear this thing to say this is who I am. It's the same when you see someone like, I want that car. I love that car. I want to drive that car. That car makes me feel like this. This car makes me feel like me. And then you have people out there who they don't, it's okay. They don't have that kind of creative brain where that is like all consuming to them.
Yeah.
Which is just as fine.
I'm always surprised that a lot of people don't put a lot of thought into how they dress or what car they drive.
What music they listen to.
Nothing to do with the price or the cost, but it's all to do with the intention and with the message that inevitably you will send to other people because humans are visual,
Yeah.
Of course we make a million judgments and evaluations about other people based on what they're wearing or what they're wearing in New York and what they're driving in LA. But it's really true, and it doesn't have anything to do with the cost usually of something.
No, I just think, it just has to do with what's truly important to the person or what's completely consuming them at the time. And it could be anything under the sun. But that those thoughts don't occur. I don't know. I'm good with all of it.
I saw a guy on the way to work today driving a Nissan Cube.
See, I have a problem with those cars.
Well, I was thinking,
please
I was
say
looking
more.
at it, and
Please say more.
especially from the rear view, it is undeniably interesting. I always
looks like
think
a high
it's.
top. It looks like a shoe.
I always think I couldn't. It's horrible, but some people might be into it
Bands
for some
like
reason.
those, though, you see bands with those because you could just really pack it in. It's like a tiny Sprinter.
But it's not your band.
Not
It's
my
not your
bands. We
band.
cannot pack it in that.
But then I also
No.
thought maybe it's a person who doesn't care, literally doesn't care at all about cars.
It could be a person that's just obsessed with cubes, just the shape.
That's also possible. I wonder about the dude,
He's
You
into
know-
maths.
You spent way too much time in London.
I'm like, why did you put an S on that? Don't do that.
I hate really talking about being a woman doing things in general.
Yeah.
And you have managed to live life, at least from the outside, on your terms and just do whatever you want. I know you don't do whatever you want, but you are living, I think, the life that you want in cars and music. And I'm curious to hear you talk about what your North Star is in terms of how you conduct yourself in these realms. Do you have one? Do you even think about it? Just as for yourself, not as a woman, just for who you are.
I think I have a strong understanding of what's right and what's wrong and what's fair and what isn't and what's sort of like preconceived that shouldn't be. And always trying to just go right through that, out the other side. But it is really hard. There's not a lot of women doing what I'm doing. And when you say that, they're like, yeah, there is. There's tons. And it's like, look at any music festival. Look at anything. I mean, I might see like 3 girls to every 40 guys. And it's always been like that since I started. Especially in electric guitar music, which I like to call it. But no, it's always there,
Yeah.
But what else am I going to do? I just want to do those things, so I'm just going to do those things.
Have you evolved as you've spent more time in this business and in this life, and how you manage that and how you advocate for what you think is right and fair? Or has it always come very naturally to you?
Well, I think, it's always, Jamie and I are always trying to hire women to work with us, to tour with us, women to open shows for us, as much as we can surround and make things more even and it feels better. It just feels better, I don't need any situation where it's all women or any situation where there's, it's just kind of like, let's just get the balance right. And everybody, when you have balance like that, everybody's kind of the best version of themselves. They're supported, and it's. I think it's good. I mean,
is it hard though? Is it harder? Because I wonder if are there not as many women at electric guitar music festivals because we don't choose to put them at those festivals, or is it because not a lot of women participate in electric guitar music?
I think that there are fewer, but it's really hard. I mean, is that the perception, or is it there are fewer that get record deals? There are fewer that get tour support. What is it? I don't know. I can't interview everyone under the sun about why they stopped playing guitar or why they just gave up the whole thing together.
Right. It probably stops early if it does. I'm just thinking of all the great, I love female acts from Susie to, Bikini Kill. Joan Jett. Yes. Elastica. Like every time a female comes on the scene, especially like in punk rock, I used to work at Generation Records downtown for a long time, and everybody is like, oh, check out this new Elastica. This band has a chick singing and they're amazing. And like, it's always instantly, we want to play that more than we want to play.
Sure. But I think you're also so excited because it's so rare.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And,
definitely.
And I hate that.
But I love those bands you just mentioned. So,
yeah.
I mean, this is a good list. But yeah,
it's a good list.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. For me, I hate getting pitched a story about a woman simply doing her job.
Yeah.
But somehow, because there are fewer women in that field, some PR firm thinks she should be written about, and I'm like, this should be normalized. And I'm not going to write about a woman simply doing her job.
Hannah, I just think it's going to be a while.
Even still, you feel like that.
Oh, definitely. Look who we just elected. We're going backwards. We're going backwards at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Yeah. I mean, it's important to fight for those things, to be normalized and to be okay. But, man, we're up against it.
It's interesting. I could really go down this path with you, and I know that this is a car-related podcast.
Vroom,
vroom, vroom. But,
I was at an Amazing Men's Club last night.
No.
It was so traditional, and there were pictures of horses on the wall. And yeah.
I will say, Matt, it seems that you've always been surrounded by strong, accomplished women. So
that's my MO. That's how I succeed in life, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I recognize that the same kind of thing that Joan Jett had, I know a lot of women I'm here in TV broadcasts, they have too. If you see a successful, strong woman who's doing great things, she's bound to achieve because she's already come through to this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a rough ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, let's get back to cars.
Okay, I just want to ask you, Hannah, did you ever get to drive, or is it even drivable, or has it been an option to drive that electric Charger yet?
You know what?
I want to hear it.
I'm so glad that you asked that, because I'm going to drive that on December 7th.
Sweet.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. And I will be texting you about that. I literally told my editor I have to do this. Alison Mosshart has been asking me about it.
Have you done it yet?
It's happening December 7th. I'm so excited to be able to report back to you.
I'm putting that in my own diary, and I'm not even going to be there, but I'm just excited. Yeah.
Great. So this means that you not necessarily opposed to an electric car?
I'm not opposed to anything if it's awesome.
This is great. This is the quote of the day.
I don't like most electric cars. I don't like that they make no sound. It's just so creepy to me. I don't like
Yeah.
it at all.
Well,
I don't
I
like
am- yeah.
a lot of the way it feels inside. It kind of is jerky and strange. It's like somebody could make something that felt good and sounded good.
And that's the
Felt
hope
like
for
a
this.
car.
Look at that
Look
thing.
at it.
I think
can
everyone who
describe
cares
it.
about
Yeah.
cars has looked at it. And I saw just on Instagram that Dodge is allowing employees to drive it around. And you know that
It's coming.
a woman or a guy working at a Dodge factory building muscle cars is going to be probably anti-EV, especially. I mean, obviously the automakers, the employees are not happy about the EV transition, but they all looked so shocked and excited when they got out. I'm sure it lays down a lot of rubber, you know?
It's for sure. It's going to be. I mean, you already mentioned it feels like such a heavy car. I'm really curious. This obviously the electric version is going to be heavier than the combustion engine, but I wonder. But they have to make it faster.
Yeah.
So there's a trade-off. I'm sure.
By the way, the eternal search of lightness, I don't think everyone is down with that. I know that a lot of car enthusiasts want lighter, but some people like the feel of a heavy vehicle. I always think of Harleys versus others. People complain about this 700, 800, 900-pound Harleys, but they're heavy for a reason. They really increase stability on the road, and I feel that when I'm driving like big electric trucks too. I don't mind 9,000 pounds if it's being propelled with a 210 kilowatt hour battery.
I mean, the only point of having a super light car ride is to race it.
Yeah.
Well, come on, guys. We're not all just racing around.
That's true. Our challenges aren't very light.
Come on, guys. Now we need to talk
just need
about
to go
the
to the
sound
shops,
thing.
okay?
Yeah, the sound thing seems like a really important thing. You've mentioned it several times, Allison, and obviously, given your line of work, I'm not surprised. So, are you opposed to sound that's like synthetic in an electric vehicle?
Well, it's going to have to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just has to be really, really good.
So it could be good just because it's fabricated and isn't coming from
This is going to be a weird one to work out because, again, it's like total feel, right?
Yes.
So,
I also think if you're not opposed to a drum machine, then you can't be opposed to
yeah,
AV
exactly.
sound.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would take somebody to really record, a Challenger or anything like that at every kind of speed, at every kind of turn, at every kind of stop. And, God, wouldn't it suck if your little radio that played those sounds suddenly was on the fritz?
Yes.
And all the
Yes.
sounds were in the wrong place. And
Yes.
you parked the car and it was like...
I don't know enough about what makes the electric charger noisy, but I don't think it comes through the radio. I think they've done something. They've put some other gadget on the electric motor somehow to make a noise, like a kazoo,
Fantastic.
Except for I hope it sounds better than a kazoo.
Kazoo could be kind of cool. You never know. I mean, it actually could be. I mean,
You could change out your kazoos. You have a set of kazoos, different ones for different moods.
I
Oh,
love
man.
this, like these Mercedes EVs that have different sounds you can choose from. I think it's great. I've loved it ever since I first started driving them. And of course, I would say, like, I'm against fake sounds in cars.
What's it like?
But if it's a good sound, I'm not against it. If it makes it enjoyable for me to put the pedal down, then,
Yeah.
I think all synthetic sounds are bad. To be honest,
She's a purist.
I don't like them. I mean, I'd rather just have nothing than
Just sit in
something fake.
silence.
Yeah, sit in silence. I mean, do you listen to music when you drive?
Yeah.
What do you listen to? All different kinds?
I listen to, all different things. I also listen to a lot of NPR, I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love Terry Gross.
Yep, me too.
Allison, tell us where you like to drive when you're in LA. Do you have special drive routes or?
No, I don't really. Just wherever I'm going is fine.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not like you're going to go drive up the coast on PCH or up Angeles Crest and
No, but I've done
know.
those things, and I love
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
I mean, I love going for long drives. I love
Yeah,
it when
it
there's
seems
something
like
I
that.
have to do that's like 3 hours away. I get so excited
yeah.
about that.
Is the driving great in Nashville? I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
it
really
at all.
great. Well, we have a huge traffic problem now, but
Oh.
most times of day it's empty and like a racetrack. It's really nice.
So you you have a place in Nashville, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a place in London, or did?
Yes, and Jamie and I, back in the day, this is where we started the band and lived, and we still have this flat there that we use when we're over on that side
You're
of the
from
world.
Florida, right?
Correct.
And LA.
And I'm in LA some of the time.
Okay.
Part of the time. Yeah.
So is there one place where you're like, where you think of it as the driving place, the place where you go, I guess you keep your Black Shark in Nashville?
I mean, you just have to drive in LA and Nashville. There's no other way to do anything. So I
Right.
think of those places like that.
And London, I mean, I
I'm
lived in London for
terrified to drive
years,
there.
but I don't
Oh, yeah.
like that they have the steering wheel on the wrong side of the car.
Nobody likes it.
And the car on the
Do
wrong
you
side.
ever drive
That's
in London?
unchangeable. It's impossible to change, right? They'll never be able to change to the correct side of the road. In Australia, in Japan, in England,
Do you ever drive in London?
I have tried one time. I had a girlfriend, and she had this little stick shift, like a little bug or something, and I lasted less than 5 minutes. I couldn't understand shifting with the wrong hand.
Yeah.
And then I had no perspective of. I just thought I was going to hit everything and everybody, and I don't think I got up past about 10 miles an hour.
You know, that's
was
not
terrifying.
fun. Yeah, that's just so much anxiety
Yeah.
created.
But I really
it's
like
just
to
not
learn
fun.
in the country. I won't feel so. I just pedestrians and bikes everywhere and buses everywhere. It's like this is not how I should learn to do this.
No, no.
I'll get there. I have to learn how. It's ridiculous not to know, but
Well, although
I
don't
love
think
the
there's
tube. So, and the
personally, and you know what? I have no problem, being driven. Just because you can drive doesn't mean you have to be driven or you have to drive.
Yeah.
All the time. I'm confident enough in my own skills that I love being driven around personally.
It's nice. Yeah.
It's really nice. You get to see the sights more, really.
Yeah.
I spent all my time in London on a Vespa of one
That's
form or
awesome.
another. It's
That's
a great
good.
Vespa city.
That's good.
And I lived in Chelsea and I worked in the city, so you would just drive down the embankment the whole time, and
So nice.
yeah, it was perfect. It was like the same on a Vespa as in the tube, so it was like, do I want dead skin cells this morning or fresh air? And you decide depending on what you're in the mood for.
Sure. And
Yeah.
it's always hard to know how you're going to feel.
Yeah. Okay, tell us. We talk about forever cars a lot, and I'm assuming I know the answer to this. But do you have a forever car? The one car that you won't give up?
I think it's going to be the Black Shark. I just
Yeah.
never want to give it up.
Yeah.
It
You've
just
had it
feels
since
like my
2014.
family member. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm such a big fan of owning cars for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Not
doing great.
flipping. Yeah,
I treat it very, very well.
I'm sure.
So, you've taken photos of yourself on the Challenger, and do you put those pictures in exhibit? Do you take pictures of other cars? Like, do you paint cars, or do you make songs about cars? Are cars involved
They're
in
in
any of your?
everything.
Yeah.
They're in everything. I mean, Karma is a good example of that, where it's just like you could just go on and on and on and on. Writing-
Karma.
Writing. Yeah.
Karma.
Now I'm getting it because
Oh,
I
it
saw
just
the
came?
cover. So it's CAR space MA.
Yeah, man.
I was thinking when you said karma
Allison,
about
I
something.
apologize.
It's
I
okay.
really apologize.
Well, I don't prepare for these
He
things.
wasn't. Well, we know that. He was not going to come in today at all. So I really, on behalf of Bloomberg,
Sorry.
Matt, anything you want to tell us?
I mean, I was listening to the Dead Weather all day,
That's cool.
Okay,
which
this
is
good.
cool.
This is great. This is really great.
I love painting cars, and I love, writing about them and photographing them. And those pictures you saw of me sitting on my car, I didn't take those. A friend took those. And it was right around when I got it. And I was like, I need portraits of myself with my car. It was like taking a portrait with my mother. You know what I mean? You just need it
Yeah.
for the album. This is posterity. It's so important.
Yeah.
But man, that's a good looking car. I mean, every angle you shoot it at, it's just fantastic.
I just really like it because, I know I've read before that the genesis for Karma really came. I think you were talking with like Richard Prince about cars.
Yeah.
And this was in like 2020 or maybe even earlier.
Like 19.
Okay.
I think it was 19 or, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I remember reading something about you saying, it could have been 500 pages.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I just love the fact that you just pull, everything is material. And that's how I really feel about the best writers. Everything just as you move through life is material,
Yeah.
and all it takes is actually putting it down in
Yeah.
whatever medium.
Yeah, seeing it, collecting it,
Yeah.
realizing what it is, you know. You know, it was so fun. I was in New York. I met Richard Prince, who's one of my all-time favorite living artists, and he's showing me these, like, his car doors and his hoods and all these things, and I'm like, man, this is the coolest day of my life. And that trip in New York, it was just like that. I saw so much art. I saw plays. I saw all these things. My head was just getting, like, crammed full of total joy and inspiration. And I was on the plane going back to Nashville, and I thought, you know what I'm going to do when I get home? I'm going to write a book. I think I'm going to write a book. It's going to be an art book. And I started that night, and 1 month later, I finished it.
Wow.
But I could have kept on going. The problem was I couldn't afford to print any more pages. So I had to stop, because if I wanted to actually make it.
You were paying for your own printing at
I
this
did.
point.
The first 500
Wow.
I had printed.
And would you recommend that? I mean, that is really taking a step out into the unknown.
But you know, it was like an art piece, and it's great. And I got rid of them, and off the back of doing that and being able to send it around and stuff, I got it published. This is not a money-making thing. I don't think I made $1 from this, but it was the most enjoyable project ever, and I didn't lose anything. You know, in fact,
Yeah.
it just makes me want to do it again
Yeah.
immediately.
Where did you do all the shots?
All the shots from
The
what
book.
do you mean inside the book?
Yeah.
They're from my entire life. I mean, I went through all my archives and all my drawers and all my books and just started realizing this incredible thread that I had been collecting car stuff and art stuff and those things that combined that felt like they were one and the same.
That's amazing.
Trying to give examples.
Why didn't I know about this before?
It's like a kaleidoscope of life and music and cars and art and graffiti in New York and LA. Like, it's just, yeah, it's really cool.
But it's from tours and
Yeah, there's all
yeah.
sorts of things. I mean, there's shots from my very first punk band I was in, our tour van, like tornadoes in parking lots at truck stops and things. You know, there's just all this. I just going through. I'm like, oh my god, man!
Yeah.
It could have been so big, which just means I need to do it again. You know, some other next level of it. But it was fun. It was like I learned. You know, you learn something about yourself when you're doing something like that. You're like, I've always loved this since the
Yeah.
beginning, since I was a little kid, and it's
Well,
all there.
Did you start out thinking that you would be an artist rather than a musician?
I never thought about what I was going to be, but I was always making art, and I always loved music. And I was doing so much art in school. My mom was an art teacher, so that's just what I was doing as a kid. And then I kind of got into skateboarding with some neighborhood friends, and skateboarding comes with music. And then I became obsessed with music. And the skateboarding for me was like the art on the bottom of the board, the clothes,
That's cool.
you know, all of that stuff, the fanzines and everything. This is just like dreamy to me. And then all of us that were skating together started a band together, and yeah, off I went. Now it's like 34, so I don't know how old I am now, but like over 30 years I've been in bands.
That's wild. I need to ask about the skateboarding. Can you skateboard as a tall person?
Well, I
'Cause
used to be
I
a
have
bit
always
shorter.
Okay, I was going
When
to
I
say,
was
were
a
you
bit
tall
shorter.
when you were that
I was
young?
smaller at one point in my life.
Even still,
When I was younger.
even still though, were you tall for your age? Because
Yeah.
I do not skateboard, and I'm like, oh no, someone who's basically 6 feet tall does not need to be on a skateboard.
No, it's
But
hard.
this isn't okay.
The gravity thing it's
Yeah,
weird.
right. I need
Yeah.
you to validate my theory here.
No, it's very true. I was tall for my age. I wasn't the best skateboarder, but at all, by any means, but I really enjoyed it. It was fun, you know.
I think, initially I wanted to say, like, we also value shorter people, right? Because we're a room full of very
course.
tall people. But
Of course.
And also, if you're a tall person, there's a lot of stuff that's much more difficult. You don't fit in a lot of sports cars. You don't. On motorcycles, I have a lot of
Airplane
problems
seats.
with my legs. Airplane seats,
Oh yeah, God.
And then we can add skateboarding to the list.
Skateboard, well, I've said this before, and I don't remember if I said it on this podcast, but I actually feel very close to anybody who's on the edge of the spectrum in terms of their body, whether they're very tall or very short or very thin or very curvy. I actually feel that the people who are on the sides and not in the normal, quote unquote, normal or average center. I feel that I can relate. I've got several male friends who are under the average height, and I actually feel some solidarity with them because people feel entitled to comment on your body.
Yeah.
In a way that is really unfair and awkward and weird. And just to say, I feel close solidarity with people whose bodies in general are not the norm.
We couldn't be Formula One drivers, which is a massive shame.
This is a massive shame. I don't think people realize how short those guys are. And
They're so little.
Oh, I just
They're
came from
jockeys.
Vegas. I'm telling you, even Christian Horner. These people are yes.
Do people ask women all the time, tall women, if you play basketball? Because that's a thing for dudes. Like everybody, when I was younger and would meet me, they would say, "Hey, did you play basketball?"
It's just a conversation starter.
And I would be like, "Were you a jockey?" Like, no.
What was the F1 driver who had to cut the ends off his shoes to fit his legs in the car? I can't remember his name right now. But it's fantastic.
I don't remember,
his toes are hanging out.
I know of one who got the nerves in his feet removed because they were so painful from scrunching them into the car that he had them surgically removed.
Apparently James Hunt cut the toes off his racing shoes to make room for his large feet and prevent rubbing inside the cockpit. He was
this is the thing we have to go through. But this is another thing we can talk about Los Angeles, especially with being a woman. There are certain body types that many women here conform to, and I know that you don't, Allison, and I don't either. But it's interesting to look at it, from a cultural study.
Wait, what is the?
A ton of plastic surgery, and just very polished, very homogeneous, very, center, no personality or real style.
No, it looks like everyone goes to the same doctor.
It shops at, I can't recognize anybody anymore because they all go to the same. But, just wear Lululemon and, very polished and just everything together, but also very boring and same, And it's interesting living here, having been in New York, and then living here, it definitely confronts you. And I think I always love meeting people, especially women, who are not buying into that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you feel that when you're in Los Angeles?
Sometimes you see pretty crazy stuff, but I don't mind crazy stuff. I just know that that's not for me.
Yes, exactly.
It's almost like a moving art piece if you start to think about it that way. It gets a little interesting. It's like, wow, that is some dedication to really alter reality, right?
Yes.
So, I can appreciate it on that level. Do I think it's beautiful? Is it, to me, gorgeous? No, it's not.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because it is to somebody else,
I always say I actually really like watching the Beverly Hills Housewives show because I find it fascinating, and
it's a social study.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like watching these beautiful exotic fish in I am not one of those fish, but it's interesting to watch. It is really fascinating, and I think it is nice to be in a place where you can recognize it and also know this isn't for me. But, but I certainly do feel it a lot stronger in LA than, for instance, London or, pretty much any other city, even New York.
I think the worst thing is just this kind of dominance of that kind of look or certain kind of beauty things on Instagram that young kids are seeing. Mm-hmm. I think that more scares me because half of it's fake, totally fake. Scares me that, young girls and young boys are thinking that this is what I'm supposed to look like. That's a big problem. Yeah. Housewives of Beverly Hills, I don't care at all.
The monoculture in general, I think, I wish, and I know music has gone through this too, where it's, one thing. It'd be nice to have lots of options. And I'm curious, at this point in music, do you feel that it's so fragmented now that there's not any monoculture in music?
I think it's pretty impossible to discover new things. I think we've been sold this idea that everything on earth is on streaming. But we no longer have the conversations between ourselves and that kind of social thing of like going to record stores, really experiencing a whole record, really learning about a band, really caring about a band, and discovering, because there's these playlists, there's these algorithms, these things. We're being fed the same stuff constantly, pretty much making it impossible for new bands to ever keep going. And, you know, it's... Yeah, we're just kind of interested in like 30 groups.
Yeah.
And then after that, you know, no one knows what you're talking about. It's very unusual. It's not good. It's the opposite thing of like discovery and having access to lots of different choices. It is the opposite of that.
Do you find a lot of new stuff that you can really sink your teeth into? Because I think we're all a similar age, right? And we all love music.
You're older than both of us, Matt.
I know I'm older, but we're close.
I think it's really hard to find them.
I just
because
feel
we
like
no longer have music journalists, we no longer have music magazines, we no longer have record stores, we no longer have small venues where people play. It's a lot harder to find them. So if they're out there, you need somebody to tell you something.
Yeah, there isn't that. That's true. But I just wonder how much of it has to do. For me, like, even I'll go through a period of finding a bunch of new bands all at once, you know, and then I'll start to listen to them, and then I realize I still want to listen to the old stuff I grew up with.
Well, sure.
You know, and I always go back to the same kind of 10 bands that I've listened
Grateful
to
Dead.
since I was 25, you know? The Dead obviously has a big enough catalog that it's easy, but some of my favorite bands only have like 3 records, so I can't listen to... I mean, I can listen to Helmet's Meantime over and over and over and
I have no idea
over
what that
again.
is.
Yeah, that's
I've
a real
never heard.
skateboarding record.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Deep cut.
I mean, it's New York hardcore kind of, or I can listen to Bad Religion, you know, forever. But if I find a new band, it's a new band, and I kind of like the sound, and I got into it for a second, and then I was like, I have my old bands, and I just stopped really exploring so much.
You're also not at that kind of teenage age where these things really take you over. You know, you are formed.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Those bands did that to you at that time. Now it's like you can appreciate music, but you're never... I don't know. Are we ever going to go off on that crazy ass spree where you just want to follow that band on tour every single day of your life? I think that changes, you know?
Yeah.
It's like you can love things and you can appreciate them and you can go to their show, but we have a different response the older we get, which is a shame.
Are you able to still access that in yourself?
Yes, for certain things I can. You know, I saw oh my God, what are they called? Fontaine's DC the other day when we were playing a festival somewhere in Europe, and I became completely obsessed. I could not stop listening to the record, and it was like 6 months straight.
Cool.
I do that. I
That's
get
good.
really hooked into stuff.
6 months is a solid amount of time,
It's
though.
so solid.
Yeah, because I'll
Yeah.
do that for like 2 weeks, but 6 months, that's dedication.
All I want to hear.
Yeah.
I always have that with any new Queens of the Stone Age record where I'm just like, okay, that's all I'm listening to for the next 6 months. You know, just certain things that I get really excited about. But Fontaine's DC, I'd never really listened to them before. And they're amazing.
I'm going to check it out.
Okay, we got to check it out. Note that. I want to know what you do when you're in New York. Like, do you have any places you want to shout out? And what are you working on for the future? Is there anything you want to tell us about or can tell us
What
about?
am I doing these days?
Besides a tour, you're still touring, right?
I'm going to London to go do a Mark Lanigan tribute concert at
Cool.
the Roundhouse in a couple of days. And then, you know, it's Christmas time. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what the next project is. I feel like, again, I feel like writing. I've been feeling that this whole time. I don't know why New York does that to me, but it's doing it. And while I'm here, I don't know. I just like to go see tons of art. I have a couple Pilates studios that I'm obsessed with and go to every day,
Very
which is where I'm going now. And, you know, just seeing my friends and walking. I just like walking a million miles.
That's,
Never boring here.
to me, the best part of New York.
Yeah,
I mean, truly. And just soaking it all in.
yeah.
like that. I think anyone listening, if you don't follow Alison on Instagram, your writing comes out even in your Instagram captions. It's really clear and obvious that you put thought into those, and even that short medium, really hints at the fact that you're a deep thinking person who's really processing the world around you. So anyone listening, if you don't follow Alison Mosshart, you should. Because
I'll be there.
Yeah, your writing is even evident on Instagram, which is great.
Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, this has been fun, you guys.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for joining us.
You're
really
welcome.
a treat. Yeah.
I'll see you next when I'm in
Yeah.
LA.
So she was awesome, and I was just walking her to the elevator, and I was like, "So I guess we get to hang out again sometime."
Hang out? Yeah.
Like,
did she say yes?
yeah, but I mean, what is she gonna? I'm not gonna go to London or LA or Nashville.
You might.
Maybe I will.
You need to come to LA, Matt. I mean, all of our conversations come back to this, I feel like. But I got to talk to her because I need to find out who does her facials, because her skin is incredible.
Pretty flawless.
It's flawless, and whatever. And life on the road with a band, that's not easy living.
You'll talk to her when you drive the electric charger, because she really
That's
wants
right.
to know.
She has repeatedly brought that up to me. She genuinely is curious about it.
Also,
yeah.
where are you? Are they bringing one to you? Like, how is that
no,
happening?
I am traveling to Phoenix, Arizona for a special drive of it. Isn't that interesting?
That is awesome. I can't wait to hear what you think of the sound.
Me too. I am kind of scared to hear what it sounds like, but I hope it's really good.
I hope it has suede interior. I hope there's fuzzy dice.
Didn't you call it sort of an old couch?
Yeah.
During our conversation?
For sure.
Yeah.
It is a very
Which
big...
isn't a bad thing.
No. All right, cool. So let's go from that end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, because you have a story out on Bloomberg.com about the most expensive, what will likely be the most expensive cars ever sold at auction. And
possibly.
But I was shocked by reading your story right now about the current most expensive car ever sold at auction. Obviously, it's a Ferrari 250 something, but only $17.8 million. I would have thought
that was just last year. That was just the most expensive car sold last year.
Yes,
okay, last year. Yeah,
because the actual world record must be more like 50 or 60.
It's actually $142 million.
Wow.
And that was the 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe that sold in 2022 in a private sale, which the reason why we're bringing this up is because this Mercedes Streamliner, it's a 1954 W196R Streamliner, is also going to be sold in a private sale at auction. It's kind of a weird thing where it's like private, but you're invited, and it is sort of a public auction put on by RM Sotheby's. The estimate on it right now is $50 million, which I'm told is conservative. There's still obviously a wide gap between a $50 million Mercedes and a $142 million Mercedes. Yeah. But this one does have some bona fides. Of course, it was, this very sleek body, inline 8-cylinder engine, racing car that was also driven by Fangio and Sterling Moss.
Wow.
Fangio, Juan Manuel Fangio drove it in a Formula race in Buenos Aires in 1955, and he won. And Sterling Moss drove it in 1955 at Monza. So it's got like real racing heritage behind it. And this car is actually currently owned by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum, which is selling a group of 11 cars to raise money to finance this huge restoration that they're doing. And this Mercedes is sort of the premier car that they're going to sell.
Very cool.
So, yeah, it's a big deal. And then, it's actually a series of 3 sales. So the Mercedes is one private sale in Stuttgart that's happening in partnership with the Mercedes-Benz Museum. And then the sort of second premier car is this Ferrari that's, have you heard of Nart Racing?
Only from you. I mean, I know I've read the acronym NART.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know what it stands for, but I have heard about it from you talking about expensive cars at auction.
Yeah, so it stands for North American Racing Team, and it was just a race series that happened in the 60s, assorted endurance and formula races. But this Ferrari in particular won Le Mans in 1965, which was a feat not accomplished again by a Ferrari until 2023, just last year. So it's a pretty special car too. I don't think it has any famous drivers, but it has real racing history. It's super rare.
That would have been the precursor to Ford versus Ferrari, right?
Exactly. And the estimate on this is $300 million. It's nothing to scoff at.
$300 million?
Sorry. I know. Sorry. 30 million. Take a zero off that. I don't know what I was thinking. 30. That was a great reaction. 30 million. Take a zero off that. $30 million. It's going to be sold at that Retromobile, very cool car show in Paris in February.
You're right. So, nothing to scoff at. I mean,
nothing
honestly.
to scoff at either.
No. True.
And I do think that is a bit of a conservative estimate too. I mean, everyone in the auction world says, yeah, it's the same old thing. The right car will sell. Everything else won't sell. So we'll see how they do.
Especially at, S&P 6,000, Bitcoin 100,000. Yeah. I mean, we're at levels where rich people are super rich right now. So
yeah, it's wild.
They can afford to go and drop some of that coin. The other thing is you went to this amazing Italian car show last year. Is it fair to call it Villa d'Este car show? It's like
a Concours.
Yeah,
a car show.
So
Concours.
People. It's been around for a while, obviously, but it didn't really come into my sort of field of vision until I saw you go there, and it looks amazing. I love like Lago Maggiore and the whole area.
It's amazing.
For motorcycling.
Lake Como.
Yes.
George Clooney,
I love George Clooney too. Yes.
Is he one of your guys? Is he like a guy you really like? Or
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Clooney and Pitt, and these are classic Hollywood, like they can pull off pencil-thin mustaches,
The Ocean's 11 guys.
By the way,
basically.
I just saw Gladiator 2.
Oh, I heard it was bad.
Oh, I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it's not as good in my opinion as Gladiator 1, but that's probably because I saw Gladiator 1 when I was like an angst-filled teenager who, but
very impressionable.
I did think that the way it was shot, the film was a callback to those great American films like a Ben-Hur or a Lawrence Arabia. And especially the title actor. I don't know the guy, whatever else he's been in, like Paul Mescal, I think is his name.
Pedro?
No, not Pedro from The Last of Us, but this guy, I think he's called Paul Mescal.
Okay.
And the lines he's given, the way he delivers them and the way they're filmed, he really comes off like a Peter O'Toole, like one of these classic Hollywood. Like he could pull off a pencil-thin mustache.
Does he have an Irish accent in the film?
No.
Because he is Irish.
Oh, is he Paul Mescal?
I've just Googled him.
Yeah,
According to Wikipedia.
He reminded me of those.
Irish. Oh, interesting.
Of those guys a little bit, yeah.
I love it. I could see a Peter O'Toole, sort of his profile.
Yeah.
Okay. So, should I see Gladiator 2?
Nah, you don't need to rush out.
Let me tell you what movie I watched last night, which does hold up. Casino.
Oh, I love that movie.
Great film. Yeah. And also, Sharon Stone is incredible.
Yes.
Like everyone talks about Pesci and Pacino and everything, but I feel like she doesn't get enough credit for that film.
Yeah. No, I think in general,
amazing.
Sharon Stone deserves more credit. Yeah.
Completely. She actually came to a press dinner as the featured guest of honor like 2 years ago. And when she walks into the room, everything shifts. It's even still, and especially still, she has this whole powerful thing going on. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's pretty great.
Yeah.
All right. But I brought up Villa d'Este because.
Oh yes, Villa d'Este.
Villa d'Este, whatever it's called, because Hagerty is gonna. What are they gonna do? Like take it over? Or?
So no, they're not taking it over, but Broad Arrow Auctions, which is owned by Hagerty, will be partnering with BMW to become the auction partner of the Concours d'Elegance Villa d'Este. So that means that there's going to be a sale in May next year of about 70 amazing cars. I mean, admittedly, this is very niche news, but in the world of car sales and these high-end Concours, it's a big deal, and it's a really big get for Broad Arrow. This is the first auction that they will have outside of the United States. They're a pretty young auction house. So, yes, in this niche corner of the car world, it's pretty big news, and congrats to Broad Arrow. That's quite a get.
And it's interesting to me because we have McKeel Hagerty coming up as a guest on this program. Yes, everyone listening, mark your calendar. We do have McKeel coming up. He's going to go on TV with you. And then with us.
With us, yes, with us. I will be there too. And then we need to ask him how this came about. It's funny, I actually saw him on Lake Como last year during last year's event, and I'm sure he was laying the groundwork for this great news and big announcement. So I want to talk to him about that for sure.
Cool. All right, well, that's all we have. I'm Matt Miller.
And I'm Hannah Elliott, and this is Bloomberg.